When your mind is driven by fear, you can't see clearly. Your ability to perceive love or danger or opportunity gets wonky. And this can have a profound impact on how your life turns out. Has this happened to you? Living driven by fearful thoughts is absolutely one of the worst consequences of living with childhood PTSD. And that's why when I teach people to start undoing the damage of trauma, I start with fear. Now, as many of you know, I teach a free course called The Daily Practice. It's linked in the description section underneath all my videos, including this one. So you might be new to this channel or to the techniques I teach. And first of all, I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to talk about fear in this video because that's what the writing technique is. It's a way to get your fear and resentment out of your mind where it's running around like a hamster or two and onto paper where you can have less fear and resentment. But I'm going to talk about fear in this video, and at the end, you'll have a chance to learn my technique today if you want to. It's free, and it takes less than an hour. So, when people learn my daily practice techniques, there are some questions that come up over and over again. I do free Zoom calls, by the way, twice a month. You're welcome to join those if you sign up for the course. Why do I focus so much on fear? People want to know. Isn't that negative? And what if, they ask, what if I don't have any fear? Are there people who actually have no fear? So this is a letter I got the other day, and I promised to share my answer with all of you so that anybody who's using my daily practice techniques or thinking about using them can learn a new way to look at what we call fear that could be just the thing that helps you see that it is in fact driving you, and it's driving your CPTSD symptoms if you have CPTSD. I'll show you what you can do so that you can name that fear and hopefully unlock that sense of comfort and confidence that every traumatized person needs to be able to access. We need it like we need vitamin C and sunshine to get on that level playing field where we can heal the effects of the past and start changing our lives. All right, so here's the letter. This is from someone I'll call Ruby. And Ruby says, I'm not even sure my childhood was that crappy, but it was certainly dysfunctional. I downloaded your daily practice, and as I started to read the practice where it asked me to write about what annoyed or upset me, etc., it said that I needed to say, I have fear. And I couldn't continue because I simply don't fear things. Quite the opposite. I have put myself in dangerous/high-risk situations over and over in terms of my financial stability and foundational areas of importance such as my home or work, to the point where I have become bankrupt and almost faced homelessness. I know this is a lack of self-care due to emotional neglect as a child, and still to this day, there's no acknowledgement of this from my mother, who was the main instigator of me and my sister's, unstable childhood, which involved constant moving, changing schools, upheaval, and never being asked what we wanted or how we felt, all mixed in with a very dramatic and messy divorce from age 11 to 13. And Ruby says, I became a spinning top and went off the rails a bit in my late teens, and my sister went in the opposite direction and settled with her first real boyfriend. This has given the impression she's grounded and okay, but she's a complete control freak. Sadly, we have a very strained relationship, even though I have a nephew now who I love dearly. Our relationship is a source of constant pain for me. My mother can assure herself she did the right thing as she sees my sister as settled and secure, and to her this means that my mom doesn't have to question her own parenting. On the other hand, I'm a constant cause of concern for her. At nearly 50 years old, I'm self-employed, living in temporary rented property, without a partner or children, and little hope of ever owning my own home, meeting a suitable partner, or being settled, even though I need that more than anything. She sees this, the mom, sees this as entirely my fault, and to a degree, so do I. I still can't quite believe where I am, and I'm sure others actually feel sorry for me. I've pursued unobtainable relationship after unobtainable relationship for years. I push people away for fear. She says, this is my only fear of being deserted or, in the past, of commitment. I want a secure, committed relationship more than anything, and although I value freedom above all, I still think I deserve a partner. I sometimes wonder if I'll ever meet anyone or if I'll ever feel truly loved or happy. I'm really not sure the daily practice will help me, as I can't relate to the notion of fearing everything that it seems to project. I hope you can help. I doubt with the hundreds of letters you receive you'll be able to reply to or even read, but if you do, please refer to me as Ruby. And so Ruby, thank you. I love this letter. First of all, you are so in the right place with me, with this group, and with the daily practice. All right, and I am going to help you, and I'm going to show you why we call what you were saying fear. And I could coach you on your particulars. But in this video, what I really want to do is I took your letter and I embellished it and I showed how everything you said in your letter could be read. You could have written it as the fear and resentment that I teach. The technique that I teach of writing goes like this, all right? So I took your letter and I'm adding in I have fear so that you see how this goes. And I think a lot of people will want to see this, all right? I have fear. I downloaded the daily practice, and as I started to read the practice where it asked me to write about what annoyed or upset me, etc., it said that I needed to say, I have fear. Fear I couldn't continue because fear I simply don't fear things. See how I did that? Fear, you don't fear things, all right? We just put the word fear between those thoughts. If the thought is anything except total peace and comfort with things, just go ahead and put it down. You don't have to have it perfect. It doesn't have to sound like fear as you're thinking of the definition. Just anything that's hanging you up right now. All right, big or small. Don't worry about it. You don't have to solve it. You're just going to write it down. All right? So again, just taking exactly what you wrote and inserting the words fear or I have fear. And we write I have fear at the beginning. You can shorthand it to just fear as you go. Fear, I simply don't fear things. Fear, it is quite the opposite. Fear, I have put myself in dangerous, high-risk situations over and over in terms of my financial stability and foundational areas of importance such as my home or work, to the point where I have become bankrupt and almost faced homelessness. Fear, I know this is a lack of self-care due to fear, emotional neglect as a child, and fear still to this day. There is no acknowledgement of this from my mother, who fear was the main instigator of me and my sister's unstable childhood. So I'm putting fear sort of in parentheses between each of the parts of that thought, because when you can name the fears, and that was sort of, you have a fear it's a lack of self-care, you have a fear it's emotional neglect that you had as a child, you have a fear to this day your mother has not acknowledged this. You have a fear that your mother was the instigator of all of this, of the unstable childhood, all right? Now, you may say to me, but she was the instigator of the unstable childhood, and you could be right, but we're going to go ahead for good measure and just keep putting, these are your fears. Your fears are that, she did this, it affected you. That doesn't mean that you're trying to deny that it happened or deny its importance. You're just identifying it as being loaded with fear. And I'm telling you, a lot of our beliefs about childhood, some of them as they become clarified through having less fear and resentment about them, some of them are worse than you thought, some are not as bad as you thought. But there's no need for you to know that right now, as you just get it on paper. The whole point of this writing technique is to get on paper what's troubling you. No solutions needed. You will find after you meditate that a lot of stuff, your mind is solving it on some level, or somewhere the solution is getting clearer to you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and keep reading your letter where I've inserted fear. All right. Fear, this involved constant moving, changing schools, upheaval, and never being asked what we wanted or how we felt. Fear, this was all mixed in with a very dramatic and messy divorce from age 11 to 13. Fear, I became a spinning top and went off the rails a bit in my late teens. And fear, my sister went in the opposite direction and settled with her first real boyfriend. All right, now that you've brought up your sister, I notice that you're feeling a little resentful, that she gets all the credit and you get all the blame, all right? I don't blame you, but that's just a feeling you have, right? So that's the other thing when we're doing the writing exercise. We also write, when we notice we're resentful, I am resentful at my sister. And then for anybody who's new to this technique, you can watch the videos where it walks you right through it, and there's downloads that'll walk you right through it. But when we're resentful at somebody, instead of saying I'm resentful at my sister because she looks so good, or I'm paraphrasing, I'll read the actual words in a minute. I'm resentful at my sister because she looks so good. No, we don't write that. We write, I'm resentful at my sister because I have fear she looks so good. And she may look good, she may not look good, you may be imagining it, you may be talking about literal reality, it doesn't matter. You're always going to write, I'm resentful at so-and-so because I have fear, the reason. Just go ahead and write that in there. You're putting a little pause between your belief about what the problem is here. And maybe you will come to see it differently. It doesn't matter if you do. You write it that way anyway. I'm resentful at my sister because I have fear this has given the impression she is grounded and okay, but fear she is a complete control freak. I love that. Fear we have a very strained relationship, even though I have a nephew now who I love dearly. Fear our relationship is a source of constant pain for me. I am resentful at my mother. Why? Because I have fear she can assure herself she did the right thing, because fear she sees my sister as settled and secure, and fear to her this means she doesn't have to question her parenting. I have fear I'm a constant cause of concern for her at nearly 50 years old. I'm resentful at myself because I have fear I'm self-employed. So when you started describing things that you think are wrong with you, I'm putting that down as resentment itself. Any shame or guilt, resentment itself, all right? Remorse, that kind of thing. I'm resentful at myself because I have fear I'm self-employed. Fear I'm living in temporary rented property without a partner or children and little hope of ever owning my own home, meeting a suitable partner, or being settled. Fear I need that more than anything. Fear my mom sees this as entirely my fault, and to a degree, so do I. Fear I still can't quite believe where I am, and I have fear others actually feel sorry for me. Fear I have pursued unobtainable relationship after unobtainable relationship for years. I have fear I push people away for fear of being deserted, or in the past, of commitment. Fear I want to secure committed relationship more than anything. Fear I value freedom above all, but I have fear I still think I deserve a partner. Fear I'll never meet anyone or ever feel truly loved again. Fear the daily practice won't help me, as I can't relate to the notion of fearing everything that it seems to project. So now I've shown you that. And then you said, I hope you can help. Fear that with the hundreds of letters Anna receives, she won't be able to reply. All right? Now, when you learn the daily practice, a very important piece of it is the sign-off, where we ask for these fears and resentments to be removed, and we ask for clarity to come into our minds about what we need to know and what we need to do. And if anybody watching is interested, the link to the daily practice, it's free, it's down there. You sign up, and you have access to this course with about 40 minutes of videos. It shows you writing, shows you how to meditate in a very simple way afterwards. And there's PDF download to show you exactly how to do it. So once you've watched the videos, you have a guide you can follow, and there's some other videos with some, Q&A type things and questions. What if you feel worse? What does that mean? How do you correct that? So that's how to do it. And Ruby, I just wanted you to know that I think what we had is a problem of definition of what is fear. And by my standards, you have all kinds of beautiful fears there. And being able to have them, acknowledge them, and get them on paper and ask for them to be removed is the most powerful and respectable thing that a man or woman can do in my book. We all are troubled by these thoughts. So getting them on paper and becoming willing to get free to them just puts you on a pedestal to me. You're wonderful. Thank you so much for trying the daily practice, and I hope this straightens you out. And for everybody else, please give it a try. If you have questions, you can come on to these Zoom calls that I offer every 2 weeks. The schedule's a little different, trying to make different days and times so everybody has a chance to come on calls sometimes and check it out. You can ask your question directly to me about how to do it. We literally do have thousands of people who are using this and getting great results. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it. If it does interest you though, here's a video where you can kind of get an overview of how it works right here, and I will see you very soon.